began to use plant medicines in a few of my patients and got such great results. And I think the convincing thing for me was seeing them come off of their polypharmacy, all of the opiates and benzos and antipsychotics and things like that. And it was such a huge thing for them. They were so proud to get off of those types of medicines because of the side effects, because of the quality of life just wasn't that great. And with plant medicine, it was so different. And they got the results that they needed without all the extra fluff.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. I'm Jodie Duval, and you are at the Smarter Not Harder podcast, your home for 1 cent solutions to $64,000 questions. So, on today's episode, I have a special guest, and I always say this, but Dr. Matty Moore has a place in my heart, and he is an internationally trained general practitioner and emergency physician specializing in the treatment of chronic illness, chronic pain, and mental health. Now, he practices through remote healthcare, offering remote consultations across Australia and in-person care in Dunsborough, WA, the beautiful Southwest. And the Southwest also has a beautiful place in my heart. So if anyone's been there from around the world, it's definitely a place that has some magic, lots of nature there. So we chat about really what it takes and what it looks like to be with clients, with patients. Matty's specialty is cannabis as well. So we talk and we dive into cannabis as a medicine, and with a deep commitment to providing personalized care, Dr. Matty combines the general practice and the emergency medicine with integrative approaches. So the cannabis therapy and cutting edge sort of biohacking strategies and really basic lifestyle, which are huge things, and really meeting his patients where they are. And so offering tailored solutions for them. So an incredible conversation. We look at chronic pain management, mental health care, sleep, and exciting potentials of cannabis therapies and what's next for Mode. And we also dive a little bit into the role of psychedelics, insights and thoughts on lifestyle and really where we should be putting our efforts in, and really gaining control of the habits that aren't suiting us and changing them. So Dr. Matty is a thought leader in personalized medicine, and his expertise is helping shape the future of integrative health. And it was such a pleasure to have Matty on today. And so if you really like this, and before we get into the episode today, I'd love to remind you, please, to take a moment to leave us a review, share and like this episode, and it enables us to reach more people who are curious about health, and it means the world to us. So without further ado, I will welcome Dr. Matty Moore to the show. All right, Dr. Matty Moore, welcome to the show. It's such a pleasure to have you on finally.
Thanks, Jody. It's been a while. We've kind of been planning this on the outskirts and finally get a chance to meet each other, not necessarily face to face, but yeah, this is almost as good.
Almost as good for now. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, we're in the same state at least. So that's
We are. Summers are coming. I'm excited.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you're such a cool dude, Matty, and I've been hanging to talk to you about all the topics, and who doesn't love a cool doctor? So I can't wait to dive into all this with you.
Well, it's great to be here. It's nice to be seen as a cool guy. I love what I do. I love my patients. I love relationships. I love fostering those. Soup to nuts medicine is always something that I've wanted to do. It's important, that you have that relationship with the doctor, that trust, that bond, because I think the general public right now is pretty tired of medicine the way it's been going worldwide over the last 5 years, for sure. And that's really created a revolution, and it's people are looking at your business and they're looking at my business and really taking their health in their own hands. And that's exactly what we want, right, buddy? That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I really want to dive into that actually, because there's a huge component around how people feel like they're being treated by the medical system and just in care practice in general. But first, I want to dive into how you actually landed here. Like, what made you become a doctor in the beginning, and where did it all start, and why here and why cannabis and why this style of medicine now as well?
Yeah, no, it's cool. I've always wanted to be a GP since I was a kid and a young kid. I had a really great GP who I got along with. I knew his family, I knew his kids, and I really loved the way he practiced his medicine. He was a huge educator and someone that was very intellectual, but totally relatable. And so that bond was strong and it always piqued my interest, right? And then I had a few friends, fathers who were physicians and in different fields. And I just was drawn to general medicine because of my own GP. And so, I kind of set my goals pretty early. And I guess that's who I am. I'm very motivated. I'm a goal setter. I achieve and did well in school and was very science focused and from early on I just saw myself doing this exactly. And so I guess it was an early decision. And so therefore I just set my goals and I got it done. I tried to get into stateside schools. I'm from Texas originally, and in the States at the time, it was pretty difficult as a white male with affirmative action to get into medical school at the time. And so I tried and tried and tried and didn't get in. I had good grades, and decent MCAT score, and still didn't get in. And so I went to a Caribbean medical school, and I had traveled a lot. My parents had traveled a lot on that side of the planet. We went to South America. My grandfather was working for Phillips 66, which was bought by BP, I believe, in Venezuela. And so we got to travel South America, and we went to the Caribbean about a lot. So like it was very comfortable for me to, all right, so this isn't going to work stateside. How am I going to achieve my goal and make it happen? So I went to a Caribbean medical school and then did all my clinical rotations in the States. And so I got to see a lot of the country. I was in Brooklyn, Miami, Wisconsin. I did some rotations in Texas. And then I found this little family medicine program in Wyoming. And I love to fish. I love to snowboard and hike and ski, and did residency there. And so I had a really unique perspective on plant medicine when it kicked off in the States. And Colorado is right south of Wyoming. And I've told this story a lot. And if your viewers have heard this story on other podcasts, I apologize. But Colorado was one of the first state to really go recreational. And we were paying attention. And I was in medical school doing rotations, and then it kicked over, and had a lot of friends who were in medicine down in Colorado, and also friends who had medicinal cards. And so I really had an interesting journey really to watch that from both of those perspectives. And then, I was married at the time and moved to Australia, and yeah, and then got into emergency medicine here in this country, and then got back to GPing. And then when it was legalized to do as a GP in 2014, and then later we could do it without specialist approval, I began to use plant medicines in a few of my patients and got such great results. And I think the convincing thing for me was seeing them come off of their polypharmacy, all of the opiates and benzos and antipsychotics and things like that. And it was such a huge thing for them. They were so proud to get off of those types of medicines because of the side effects, because of the quality of life just wasn't that great. And with plant medicine, it was so different. And they got the results that they needed without all the extra fluff. And so then, it began to be pretty much all I was doing. I met my business partner, Jordan, in Bunbury when I was working there. And we have always been talking about doing a business together. And so then we started Mode, and, slowly, organically growing it, seeing what we could do together, develop different pathways, really develop this business uniquely and in a way that where patients really identified with the doctors. You said, I'm a cool doctor. Well, I guess people kind of relate to what we were putting out there. I ride my skateboard, my mountain bike. I love the outdoors and hike and stuff like that. So that's kind of where we started with our, not necessarily marketing, I guess, but I think that, that's encompasses really what we were doing. And, we had such success with that type of medicine, and therefore it gave us the opportunity to really expand our services and see what we could do to further help people in a different way. And so I think the emphasis really is now on proactive medicine and not reactive, which has been the case for Westernized medicine from the get-go. We have a problem, then we go try and fix it. Well, why don't we try to avoid that problem by doing the right thing ahead of time? And I know it's a buzzword, holistic medicine and all that these days, but I think it's what people are looking for. They're identifying with it. They're loving the responsibility of taking their own health in their own hands. And so that's kind of where we're going, and we're loving it.
Yeah. And it really shows that it's a completely different way of, finding passion in practice, and it's seeing clients come out or patients come out completely in awe of what a practitioner can be and connect with. And I love to call it sort of like healthcare versus disease care, because you sort of remove the diseases, you remove all the boxes, and you just go, right, what are we looking at? A person here. We're looking at what we've got in front of us. And obviously I practice in a very preventative manner as well in my practice. So for you, Matty, like how different do you feel as a doctor treating or where you were to now? Like, is it reward or passion? Like, how would you describe that?
All of it, nothing but positive. It's nice to be kind of out of that type of medicine. I'm obviously still practice that. We see patients, we still go by guidelines, and we have to, because in order to prescribe plant medicine, we have to have tried first-line therapies in these patients, and that's really the criteria. And with those first-line therapies, if they haven't worked or had side effects, then they can come to us and really go down that pathway. So yeah, it's great to be doing things a little bit differently, I think, and seeing where this takes us, because I think medicine is heading in that direction. It's got to, because people aren't satisfied, people's health aren't covered, the system is broken. There's not access in certain areas of the country. I think telehealth has provided an enormous amount of great medicine to people that otherwise wouldn't get it.
Yeah.
And so we've been able to take advantage of that with our business in the right way. Look, there's a lot of cowboys in this industry right now. And these telehealth clinics really skew this part of medicine and give it a bad name. And I think that will be taken care of in the next year or two. I think the fat will be cut. There'll be a lot of these businesses that have been doing the wrong things, and they'll get their hands slapped. And in fact, a lot of them are currently. There's a lot of investigation going on. APRA is now really getting pretty serious about looking into the prescribing habits. There's a lot going on state health department wise. I mean, there's the driving laws. They need to be fixed. I mean, I think Tassie's done a great job. I think that the dominoes will fall eventually with the other states, but it's just not fair for patients to be doing the right thing, to be taking their medicines as prescribed and not being able to drive, even if they're not impaired, because its presence doesn't equal impairment. Yeah. So that's something that needs to be changed, and I think it will. We're working hard to do that.
Yeah. And like an industry, I think it's, like the cowboys or the people who are doing the wrong will make it bad for others. But also from the fact that now, because of that, there might be other implications for the way it can be prescribed, so that it could be more restrictions, unfortunately, in some cases. And, and that's the issue of doing the wrong thing, is that it creates that.
We don't need to be taking steps back. We need to be increasing access.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've been working on over the last few years is really trying to get the Department of Veteran Affairs to recognize cannabis or plant medicine as a potential therapy for mental health. Yes, we don't have a lot of data. We don't, because of prohibition. And, we haven't been able to research it, but we're getting a lot of it done. Australia's really leading the way there in a lot of ways. And there's some folks in Australia that are doing some great research. And once we get it, the safety and efficacy will be proved. And hopefully we'll get those mental health conditions and be able to help folks with approved medicines. As it stands right now, it's unapproved. So we do have a lot of veterans. Obviously, most have chronic pain issues and mental health issues. So we're treating both. really, and getting great results for those mental health conditions. I think the fear extinction that THC can provide that traumatic brain at the end of the day at nighttime in the forebrain is incredible. Like I know I've seen it hundreds of times with guys and gals who really can't go to sleep, who have that hyper arousal, hyper vigilance at the end of the day, and just cannot have a good night's rest. And you know, as well as anybody, without good rest, everything else falls to shit. And so that's been really fun to see that success and that trickle down of patients improving, getting jobs, dropping off all of these other medicines, improvement in their family relationships, which is huge. So I think we're doing really, really big things. We just need to get a few more people, these old guys, really recognizing this as a potential great thing.
Yeah.
And the chronic pain, I mean, the pain specialists who are saying that, this is ridiculous. There's no evidence. You might as well go to the liquor store to get liquor. They said this. This is the guy who heads the pain specialty college. And I won't say his name. I have many times and grumbled about him, but he continues to say that alcohol is better for patients than cannabis or plant medicine, which is malpractice, in my opinion.
But there is so many studies, and I've read them. I hate to be, naughty in the way I say, but can they not read? Can they not research their own?
Well, I think they're turning a blind eye, obviously, because of their own biases. Yes, there are smaller studies, but they're good studies. It's hard to do double-blind, placebo-controlled, randomized studies with cannabis medicines because there's just so many variables that can change the effects, the beneficial effects of this therapy. So I think there's a lot of control that needs to happen. It will. There'll be funding to do those things, I believe. And there are, we're involved in studies at Mode. We've been doing that for years, and we continue to do that because it's important. And the more and more data we get, the more and more convincing to those old farts it is.
Yeah, absolutely. So sorry for the interruption, but I do have some exciting things to share. So this podcast is proudly brought to you by Home Hope's Metabolomics module, a groundbreaking framework pioneered by Dr. Ted Achacoso. So Home Hope goes beyond the traditional medicine and it focuses on detecting and correcting imbalances for optimal health. As Dr. Matty Moore shared with us today, personalized care is essential when managing chronic illness or optimizing health. And our metabolomics module dives into the intricate metabolic processes of the human body, combining advanced metabolic testing with a holistic approach to wellness. But not only that, is that it actually creates a dashboard for us to view and lens through so we can actually make changes that are seen in front of us. So ready to optimize your health? Visit homehope.org, products, metabolomics to learn more. And you can use the promo code podcast10 for a special 10% discount for you listeners on the metabolomics module or any other certification from Home Hope. Now, we also have a very exciting symposium coming up at the end of the year in Vegas, and we are doing a Home Hope symposium. It's from the 11th and 12th of December, and you can head to the website and it will be all there for you to sign up as well. It's an incredible event. We'll have so many amazing speakers, and we also are doing a combined ticket so you can go to the A4M, which is just after it, which is a huge longevity fest there. So don't miss out, head there, and we only have a limited amount of tickets, so get onto that. Now, let's get back to the show and some more insights with Dr. Moore, armed at knowledge and embrace a proactive approach to your clients, your patients, and your own health. I even just recently research from the US, Ethan Russo I spoke to not too long ago, and he was doing
incredible
CBG, anxiety study, and it's incredible the results that have come out of this.
No doubt, yeah.
It's constant, the amount of data that's coming through, and to, as you say, treat for and coming off these polypharmacy that's causing so many side effects and more likely actually causing ill health than increasing health. And so that's what is totally enamored me about cannabis, is the fact that it can be so fast acting or so supportive with clients. I see it. I had 2 clients sitting with me today who I've sent to go get some CBD or, cannabis medicine, and they'd come back and they're like, my life has changed. One was a 16-year-old and I've sent her. And so she's completely changed in mental attitude. Her energy is back. She's not suicidal anymore. It's incredible medicine. So that's where I love to speak this topic. So we really get the word out there and
Yeah.
out of it.
We've got to be careful in preaching this because, it isn't for everyone.
No.
It's not snake oil. It's not, the go-to for everything. There are people that it just doesn't work for and it's too expensive. And we have to say that. We can't claim that it's the end all be all of medicines. I mean, sometimes it doesn't work, but those stories we see every day, Jody, every day. And they're so motivating because it just continues to emphasize what we're doing in our goals. So yeah, look, I think it's really a future pathway that's going to continue to expand in the right way.
Yeah. So I want to sort of dive into it, a little bit of 101 with cannabis, from your perspective on when you're prescribing it, what you're looking for, because it fascinates me from the physiological perspective. We've got the endocannabinoid system, which is like, whoa, we have a new system here. Well, not new, but it's been, relatively new. And now we can reach so many aspects of this system, which is far-reaching across the whole body, pretty much.
It is. It's got its hand in everything.
Absolutely. Such an incredible medicine that it does that. So, how do you assess people? And this is, I guess, something for clients, patients, clinicians interested in looking into this for their patients or clients, and then those who are taking it. What's sort of the process of what goes through even your mind as a doctor when you're prescribing?
Well, there's lots. There's really a lot to take in and consider and educate in, a 30, 45 an hour appointment. Look, we look at what condition we're treating. For instance, let's look at pain. And pain, there's so many different types of pain. There's autoimmune, there's wear and tear osteo, there's neuropathic type pains. And therefore, the treatments are different. You have to think about what potentially could help a patient. So, an inflammatory process typically is improved with CBD.
Mm-hmm.
Neuropathic pains tend to be better with THC. So you have to consider the parts of the plant that you intend to use and talking to patients about the therapies that they've tried. Why haven't they worked? How long did you try them? What types of other things are you doing in addition to that particular medicine? Those things like, the rehabilitation, your physio, your exercise, your diet, your sleep, all of those things are taken into account. Hydration status. What other medicines are running through that potential cytochrome pathways in the liver? Alcohol intake, things like that. Other conditions that may affect it. If they tend to be a high metabolizer, those folks that get into a general anesthesia or local anesthesia issue and they have heaps of local and it's just not cutting it, well, those patients probably need a little bit more THC potentially. Patients that are on a lot of medicines for that particular condition generally tend to require a little bit higher dosing. So those are the things that we ask patients, and some patients are using cannabis already and treating their condition through black market. And it's really important to know that and to know how much they're using, because then we know, all right, this patient's system is primed already. Those CB1 and CB2 receptors already are used to being occupied. And therefore your treatments are different for those folks. We have maximums that we tend to use as far as THC that we're allowed to use from the state health departments that we pay attention to. We have to consider, all right, this patient's using black market. Are they getting prescriptions from other providers across the country? We have to check scripts from other states, because people are cheeky, man. They like their medicines, and some patients are doing a little bit different things. So we got to make sure that we're not putting ourselves at risk there as providers and prescribers. So lots of different things that we talk about during a consultation. We educate on the endocannabinoid system. We talk about receptors, what endocannabinoids are, why phytocannabinoids work in the body, and how they work. And patients really are interested in and want to learn that type of thing. Crazy that the endocannabinoid system isn't taught in medical school. Like that blows my freaking mind.
So still now it's not taught. Wow.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Doesn't surprise me. Like, not nutrition's not even covered. So, like, what? Pretty much.
No, you're right. It's not. Like we have modules and we learn about it, but the emphasis isn't there. Then it should be. I mean, look what a good diet can do for prevention. I mean, my God, it's so important. And we just don't pay attention.
Right.
And it's something that we should be, but we're not.
Yeah.
We're not emphasizing.
Yeah. Yeah, the amount of times I've been told by clients that a doctor has told them that changing their diet won't make a difference. And there's no such thing as nutrients from food that will change cofactors. I'm like, what? Oh, it blows my mind because I do a lot of metabolomic work. Like I do a lot of metabolite work. So you can see from a cellular perspective that without those cofactors, it's not going to work.
Yep.
Wow, that blows my mind that it's still not in medical training now.
Yeah, it's wild. And there's so much bias. Like the bias from the last 100 years after the states basically made it illegal and made it a scheduled medicine equal to heroin and all the others. And the world followed. Henry Enslinger was the guy in the government in the US that made that decision with reefer madness and all those different advertisements that really brought cannabis a bad name. And look, before that, cannabis medicines were one of the highest prescribed medicines around. Bristol Myers Squibb and Eli Lilly, those big old pharmaceutical companies, their number one drug was cannabis medicine. So after that, the research stopped, the ability to get that medicine stopped, and that negative talk about plant medicine continued for a long time, and we weren't able to really research it. And, then Dr. Meshulam and Israel found the endocannabinoid system and the receptors and did a lot of the research that we now base everything on. God bless him and rest his soul. He passed away this last year, but incredible guy. And I think we'll look back on what he did and really see what he championed for the world.
Yeah. And it really solidifies the fact that once you find the endocannabinoid system and the medicines work directly on that, and cannabis is the medicine that directly works on that, yes, there's a few others, but how can you ignore that within the medical network? And that's why the resurgence of that, plus other psychedelics, I feel, have followed closely behind that as well. So Australia obviously is then, we're also leading the way in, psilocybin and that sort of field too, which is fabulous. And I always say, super exciting, but it's funny because Australia feels like it's further behind the rest of the world most of the time, but now we're leading the way for one thing.
Awesome. It's so good to see, and really surprising for all of us. Like it just happened overnight. And, that's great because we're all watching the data that's coming across, like these head-to-heads with SSRIs after 3 trips. Patients' depression is gone, like completely. And those studies were duplicated with bigger studies and the same information. So we have to pay attention to that. And it's great to see that Australia is, and soon, we'll be seeing a lot of that around. I think the framework for the psilocybin treatments and the MDMA and ketamine treatments and the costs and how to deliver it the best way, that's all being really worked out right now. And the oversight by the different colleges and bodies in order to make that safe and make sure that everybody's doing the right thing. That hasn't been established yet either. So yes, we legalized it, but we're still waiting on all of the other things to be finalized. And once it is, I'm excited to get involved. We're talking to a psychiatrist down in the Southwest who's going to be doing a lot of that. And we want to be, right next to him and helping him out. So watch this space.
Absolutely. And that's super exciting. Yeah, the potential is great. And I think it's about time that we now come back into that sacred plant medicine for treatment, but in a medical sense, where it can actually be using it safe and monitoring clients or patients in a way that we know that they are going to be coming out of it without further damage. I'd spoken to Susan Rollison. She's doing the research and she's been, chatting about what that setting looks like and making sure that the prior, pre and post, and making sure all that is correct, because it's really important, even with cannabis too. There's risk factors associated with in, and that's why we have to be so careful. And like, anything to do with that schizophrenia or any mental condition that we have to be really aware of, and some of these other risk factors that we have to know about. And it's hard to sometimes assess clients in a effective way without going through a certain process. So I think, like you say, that's all being worked out now.
Yeah, it's incredible to see it finally happening. I mean, the big pharma, I mean, it's great to see it outside of that. I think people are really, really tired of that influence on medicine and in a huge way, in a very negative way. So it's great to see, the little guy win out.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's good to hear that from you. So, I guess as a doctor, sometimes it's hard to not have the big pharma influence because you need some of the components of that. But how do you balance that, Matty, without obviously knocking anyone down or saying bad things about anything, but
Well, you can't discount where medicine is right now, and the medicines, our lifespan is improved because of modern medicine. I mean, that you can't discount that. But nor can you discount the great influence on the big pharmaceutical companies, on the FDA, on probably the TGA too, and the NIH, and all of this. I mean, God, look at COVID. Look at what happened through COVID. Like, it's ridiculous. And now we're seeing, and history will look back at this and really look bad about it, and what happened and how it happened, making us tell people to get something done who didn't want to do it, who knew better, and they were right. And I knew they were right. And I still had to stick by because, we were all pretty scared. There were folks being struck off for doing this and that. And I really felt this isn't right. I'm out. I'm done. Of course, I use and prescribe and see the value in medicines and most of these first line therapies. Come on. I mean, I'm not stupid. I'm not a cowboy. I'm from Texas, but I'm not a cowboy. So, it's something I still practice. Today we see regular GP patients too, and do that as well. It's not all about pushing plant medicine because we're treating obesity. We've got nutritionists on board now and really tackling problems before they happen that way. We've got psychologists helping with mental health, and we're going to be expanding that even more with other services and really providing that full scope, holistic care. So, and I think that's what people really desire for both of our businesses, and our businesses will thrive because of that, as long as we keep our patients number one and provide them, good care, and the results will speak for themselves.
Yeah. And it's just truly listening and actually being empathetic towards our clients and patients. It really isn't that hard. It's just giving them the time and the space to actually explain and feel heard. It really is just that simple. And then supporting them with the skills that we have.
Yeah, and it's not about your degree or my white coat, because we're all in this shit together, right? I'm the same as you, and you're the same as your patients, and that's a very good approach. And listening is so key. My goodness. I mean, people are really craving that.
Yeah. And a lot of the research even says that, where most of the treatment methods is the placebo really in itself, that they feel heard and listened to. So you have
your treatments will be much more effective if you're listening, counting what they're saying, really being involved, not moving quickly, thanking them for sharing, like just being a good human. Like, that helps treatment. It does.
And most of us and those who are listening would have experienced a not so nice practitioner or doctor or GP or medical professional. I've certainly experienced many myself, and it doesn't make you feel good. It makes you feel rubbish, and there's no need for it. And that's where I think is just changing that picture a little bit. But
yeah, it's not about us. It's about them.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think, COVID, I want to ask you sort of like what you're seeing in patients and sort of like, patterns, I guess, because I like to look at this within my own practice and for other practitioners as well. But since COVID, I think, it's definitely given us a few things. It's given us perspective on what actually matters and how to get healthcare and telehealth. I think one of those good things that came out of COVID. But the level of anxiety and uncertainty and fear that came out of COVID. I've never seen anything like it. I've been in practice for 15 years, so there's been a big chunk of that outside of COVID. And so coming into COVID and then after that, I had clients committing suicide. I had people who were so wrought with anxiety that they couldn't even walk out of my office without having a panic attack, or back in. It's just, I've actually not seen anything like it. And I've talked to so many practitioners about this as well, and doctors. So, Matty, what have you seen in your practice? Is there anything majorly that you've seen shift? And I know you've got now beautiful medicine to help support this as well.
Yeah, look at what I've seen is a real obviously division, and it divided families, it divided groups. When it didn't have to, people took a stand, whether for their beliefs, what they did, whether they got immunized or not, and then that really created a division in our society, the right and the wrong, whatever. And I've seen mental health just explode. Like it got really, really interesting there for a little while. So that's really kind of what we saw more of due to COVID, I think, was just real negative effects on people's mental health, whether they had it before or not. Most of them probably had it previous, and it just got worse. But that was an opportunity, again, to really step in and do things differently. So I think mental health was eye-opening after that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. I totally agree. And I feel like there has been a lot of inflammatory conditions come out of just COVID itself. Now there's been a cascade of issues coming through. And so, I am referring on to cannabis doctors more often than I ever would have or needed to previously in even the last year or so. So but I feel like it's, you may have seen an uptake in people's awareness towards these types of medicines because people are educating themselves more around alternatives because they are feeling so, as we've already talked about, disbelieved by the medical system. So that's, I think, a positive that has definitely come out of this scenario. All right, sorry for the interruption, but I have an exciting announcement. This podcast is proudly brought to you by Prescriptions, the leading provider of precision-dosed, physician-formulated pharmaceutical-grade formulas in the form of a buccal troche. And are you ready to unlock the power of precision dosing and pharmaceutical-grade quality? Just as Dr. Matty Moore discussed today, it is so important that we get the quality of support if we're using supplements or medical-grade supplements. So today we're looking at TroCalm, and TroCalm is an incredible and game changer for stress relief and enhanced performance. And so with its precise dosing and expert formulation, it provides relaxation, reduces anxiety, and improves sleep quality, much like the integrative therapies Dr. Moore offers his patients as well. So experience the tranquility and rejuvenation you deserve. So ready to take your well-being to the next level and relaxation to the next level, and not needing alcohol at the end of the night to make you chill out, just use TroCalm. So head over to Troscriptions.com and discover the full range of precision dosed formulas. And for a special offer for everyone out there, use code POD10 to enjoy a 10% discount on your purchase. All right, let's get back to this amazing conversation with Dr. Matty Moore. Hope you enjoy.
For sure, like those good stories within families, within groups, it's like the whisper game. People are, oh, how'd you get better? Oh, tell me about that. Who'd you see? Like, and it's on the minds and lips of a lot more people these days. It's on TV, it's in the media, which is a good thing. It should be. That's provided a lot of new opportunities to educate and give people a different viewpoint. And there's a lot of people that are craving that and hearing it. And we see more and more and more people looking for alternative therapies. And look, it's not for everybody, again, and it's certainly not an advertisement for this type of therapy. If your viewers have used first-line therapies and haven't had a great go and had side effects, then, they potentially qualify if they've got that indication. So, give it a go. That's what I say.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I want to just cover off the, kind of some, I want to move into the lifestyle and how you also look at clients outside of medicine, for the actual taking or supporting in that way. For the nuances of cannabis prescribing, because it is, I like to cover this off because it's very different to how anything else is prescribed. So tell us maybe some stories or some things that you like to mention around how you prescribe or different types of modes of delivery and all this sort of stuff that we need to know.
Yeah, look, over the course of, from legalization for its use, then the number and types of products have, grown exponentially. And, we've gone from a very oral suspension, liquid, oil heavy, market to now with much more edibles and capsules and gosh, flower has exploded. And I think part of that is the recreational market impinging on the medicinal. Most of the recreational folks have a condition that they're treating, and it's a real opportunity for us to help them use it in a real mindful and appropriate way in accordance to all the state health department laws and TGA. So that's kind of an evolution. There's heaps more patients. I'm not sure the numbers exactly how many cannabis patients there are across the country, but I would say hundreds of thousands, just based on the approvals with the SASB, as well as increasing numbers of authorized prescribers around the country. Those stories get out there. They talk to their friends, their relatives, and then other people are looking for those results. In response to your question, I think what kind of a product would I consider for different patients? Well, we start really conservatively initially. I mean, obviously it is a psych active medication. We got to be careful with that. There are impairment potentials. There are some side effects that we have to counsel people on, but we're really careful. We're really conservative. We don't offer THC to, under 18 unless good reason and with, specialist support. That's kind of our philosophy. We start low, we go slow. There's ways in which we split our regimens. We do daytime and nighttime to help with those types of potential impairments. There's different ratios of medicines or different dosing, different terpenes, different flavonoids, all kinds of different minor cannabinoids that are now coming on the market that are really cool. Like you mentioned CBG. CBG is awesome, but there's so much more. There's CBC, there's CBN. CBN is, really helpful for epilepsy, and its sedation properties are really helpful for patients who may not be able to take THC, those FIFO workers that get tested, that need something to help them relax and help them sleep. CBN is amazing at nighttime. And CBN is converted from other cannabinoids as the cannabis plant matures in the sun. So that's those other types of cannabinoids and terpenes are extremely important. And the emphasis and the education that we're giving to not only our patients but other providers is increasing and getting better and better, and that therefore increases knowledge everywhere, and that's a good thing. So yeah, I know that's a really long,
No, that's good.
yeah, to answer that question, but it's expanding, and I anticipate it to get even better and better and better. And you look at other countries, like Canada and the States and some in Europe, there's a lot of different types of medicines.
Yeah.
And that is improving in Australia as well. It's not just about oil now. And all patients don't do well on oil. Some of the carrier oils within cannabis oils can upset people's tummies and give them diarrhea and gastritis.
Yeah.
So we have to think about other delivery methods.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what blew me away is that there's now products on the market also for, clients of mine will have severe pain through endometriosis. So you've got internal deliveries, vaginal deliveries.
Absolutely.
Oh, like it's just awesome. So for people, you don't have, and that's what I love about it. Not that it's like an incredible medicine, which it is, but it's giving people options and like the amount of pain people can be in, and then this as a therapeutic option that's not got any relatively none side effects. That why wouldn't you try that? Why wouldn't you, give that a go? So it's great. I love it.
It is. The endometriosis patient cohort they're incredible. They are so tough, so strong. I mean, they wait so long to get a diagnosis, and it's just one of those that there's a lot thrown at it.
Yeah.
Surgery, surgical excisions, and all that stuff isn't great. It's not curing it. It comes back. So throwing a bunch of opiates at those girls is only helpful for a little while. It's not supposed to be taken long term. And you mentioned it, those internal topical products can be so helpful. You know, suppositories, pessaries. I mean, good Lord, those are amazing. It's life-changing for some patients. I mean, life-changing. They walk through change after many, many years of being miserable and getting no help anywhere. They've tried everything. And something as simple as that changes their life. I mean, that as a practitioner is exactly why we're doing medicine. That right there, that is like a drug. It is so motivating. It is so awesome. Like we all share those stories back and forth. We get off on that shit, man. It's the best.
Yeah.
Like those stories are amazing. And endometriosis patients who do well, those are the best.
Yeah, I agree. I had a client who was on ketamine infusions every month. I've never heard of such a severe case, and she's doing incredibly well, but with just some care and some extra support and some different ideas thrown at her. So there's a limitation in what the medical system can provide, and then now these are opening doors is just incredible. I totally get it, and yes, I think this is what drives practitioners and doctors to do great work is hearing these stories, and that's why we do the work, is because we want to help and change lives. That's the only reason you get into this job.
I don't want to hurt anybody, Jody. Like I'm not into that. Like and those types of therapies have the potential to hurt folks.
Yeah.
Look, plant medicine, I gotta say it again, isn't for everybody. It's not snake oil, but when it works, it can be life-changing, and it can be a lot better than those first-line therapies. It can be.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Matty, I want to sort of digress into some of the other important parts of what you talk to patients and clients about. And I know you walk the talk. I see you out in the sunshine. I see you walking in the bush. I see you doing your skateboarding, and I love all that stuff too. And I think it's a really beautiful thing as a doctor to be advocating and doing that. Because yeah, it's sad to say it. I don't see it often, and it's really unfortunate that people are so motivated by being inside or working, and it's just not living what we should be doing for our circadian biology and all the things that make us healthy, right? So, I guess talk me through what you normally recommend clients or what you love to do, and what you find to be really useful in those recommendations.
Well, those types of things that you see me doing, I do it because it works. It helps me. Like, I wouldn't do it otherwise. And believe me, there's been many years that I haven't practiced everything that I preach. And so there comes a time when you kind of have to. And, I have reached that point and it works. So the things that I really preach are connection with other humans. A good diet, nutrition is key. That's a foundation. Good sleep, mindfulness, meditation. I do those twice a day. It's super important for me to get out of my own head. And I think they're so helpful for me. I like it's just easy to share that with my patients. I mean, I get out in the sun, take my shirt off, get my deconversion, which is super important, take off my shoes, get grounded. I know it's all the buzzword. It's all like, you see all this stuff over social media, these people saying the same things. Well, shoot, it probably works. Give it a go. My gosh, the cold plunges and the sauna, there's data. It works.
Oh yeah.
Like if you've ever done a cold plunge, holy shit. Like seriously, it is afterwards it's incredible. Like it's like why don't I do this every day, like multiple times a day? It works, it feels that good. And the saunaing, the data that's coming out about dementia and all of that's in my family. Like I'm a little bit scared about that because I played contact sports. I've had many concussions and that type of thing, and I've got dementia in my family, so I'm a little bit concerned about that. So those types of things that we tell our patients, I'm doing because it works and it helps me, and I think it should be. We got to do that thing to head off a lot of these medical issues that our patients are dealing with and we may be dealing with too.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. And I feel like, yeah, the comes through in waves, right? So you got all the buzz things that come through, and I feel like I'm like, we've been doing this for like 10 years now. Like, Come on, you guys. And
Yeah.
now it's like coming out in the media, which is great. It's becoming more aware, it's spreading the word, everyone's seen it. But it becomes sort of like the cool thing to do, and then it's like the next cool thing to do.
Yeah, the next fad. What's the next deal?
Yeah, what's the next one? But I agree. It's an essential non-negotiable, and I tell my clients to. It's like you have to get outside, you have to, drink your water, you have to have some fun, do some handstands, run around, be stupid, dance naked in the kitchen, whatever you need to do.
Totally. All of that.
See, it's like being human. We forget what human is. We're all a bit too serious, I feel sometimes. And
Definitely.
that's where I think psychedelics really bring back that humanness, that connection, that outer worldly feeling of belonging somewhere different. And we have come so far away from that with the seriousness in the last sort of 150, 100 years, whatever that is. And I feel that now it's starting to slowly come back in at a time that we actually really need it, like the essential time of, waking up again. It's not waking, it's just waking up. Like, come on, we just need to actually be back to our roots again.
Yeah, we need to get back to the caveman, I think, right?
Yeah.
A
But
little
also
bit.
feeling like what it is to, I heard it on a podcast the other day, but is more about how parents and, treating children, as kids in sort of like when I was younger, I had to like do the hard work. And I had to do the things that I needed to feel like, oh, I don't really want to do this, but this is like good for me. Like I needed to like shovel poo in the backyard from my horses or whatever it is. I ask my son now to like, help me with like lifting tree branches out the front. He's like, nah, I got better things to do. I'm like, no, you out here now. Like, so I think again, that sort of stuff is like making us do a bit of hard work is sometimes good for us. And locking in these habits is sometimes hard work, but it's good for us. We need to be doing it.
Yeah, the whatever takes you out of your comfort zone, I think that's super important.
Yes.
Stretching yourself big time.
Absolutely. And that's where we feel the growth is coming from. And then we
Yeah.
become, better humans. So incredible. And I love all of this. So what's next? And I had a little sneak peek in some exciting times for Mode that might be coming with some of these, psychedelic supports that are coming into the country. But what else is exciting in Mode world, in your world, in Canada's world? Anything that you're really looking forward to? You're like, what are we really excited about right now?
Well, I think expanding our reach for people, I think we'll be expanding within WA to reach more folks. The pathways will improve and the different types of therapies, I think, we're thinking about bringing in maybe IV treatments, potentially really expanding our fight against obesity, trying to really plug that for people because, now the TGA has approved another Ozempic-like medication for weight loss. Ozempic's off-label, right? So now we've got one that actually is approved for weight loss and, really helping folks take some weight off because, the comorbidities are astronomical and the effects of obesity on all body systems is pretty dynamic. And if you were to treat and improve one thing, I think that's it, and that's what we're going to be trying to hit real hard. Yeah, continuing to increase our practitioner numbers and different types of therapies. That's kind of where we're going in the next year or so. Yeah, it's going to be exciting.
Wonderful. No, that sounds incredible. We'll have to be watching all of that on the sidelines and keeping up with all the news from you.
Yeah, we'll be heading up to Perth at some point pretty soon. We'll have a place.
Yeah, incredible. So, Randy, we always sort of like, wrap the podcast up in this way. And I know you've already mentioned a lot of these things that you love, but what are sort of 3 things that you would say help you live smarter, not harder? So that's sort of like, it could be anything. It can be 2 things even if you wanted to, but what would you say are the main ones?
Look, I think the one thing that if I was to give a tip for people is to reduce their alcohol, if not drop it completely. That's one thing I think that as far as Australia and our culture here is pretty off. And back home where I'm from too, I think that's one thing that increases inflammation, increases disease, increases violence, death. So I think that's one thing that I would preach. Be smarter about that. Exercise as best you can, whatever is going to work for your system. Start easy. Don't go out and, kill it. You're not going to run a marathon the first week. Do something realistic and improving that slowly, increasing that, titrating it up. Good diet, really considering dropping the carbs, the sugars, being more aware of what your intake is. Those things are huge. I can't say that enough. And I say that because personally, I've really made that a huge thing in my life over the last couple of years, and it's made such a big difference, huge difference. And I just encourage people to consider that because once you remove that from your life or make those changes and look back, you really see the real movement towards your goals, what you want to do, and improvements. It's pretty tangible. It really is.
You look back and you sort of see like where was I heading? You know,
Unknowingly. And
yeah,
and you come home, for instance, and have a couple of beers and it turns into more, and then you're doing it every day and your weight stacks on and you feel like crap and you wonder why and you make those changes and it's pretty dynamic.
yeah,
So, I'm not a preacher, but that's one thing that I've found to be pretty helpful for me lately.
yeah. And you're not the only one as well. Like so many people say this, and so much research says this, and there's so many backing points to those things of, exercise, less alcohol, and less sugar and processed foods. Like it is quite simple, but they have us by the balls, mind the expression. Those, the foods and the alcohol, it like literally has you held from through addiction in that way. And it's really, you have to step outside your comfort zone to break that. And you have to put the effort in to actually be able to do that.
It ain't easy. Certainly in our society how it is now, but quite dynamic if you make the change for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
Matty, it has been a pleasure, and thank you
I
so
went fast. We're already done, eh?
much. I know, we did an hour. So
Yeah.
thank you so much, and it's such a pleasure. And I hope to get you back on the show again, and we can have updates and hear where the clinic's going for you and what else you're bringing towards, and then catch up on just stories within the clinic, which is so fun.
Yeah, cool. Jody, I love what you do. I've been watching and yeah, I really appreciate the time. It's great to be on with you.
Yeah, no, awesome. And I'll see you very soon.
Sounds good. All right.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of Smarter Not Harder podcast. And we're incredibly grateful to Dr. Matty Moore for sharing his expertise on chronic illness, pain management, mental health, and cannabis therapies. And so if you found today's conversation valuable, we'd love for you to leave a review, share, and like the episode on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever your preferred listening platform is. And your feedback and support help us reach more curious minds like yours. So don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay updated on all our latest episodes as well. So we hope this episode has given you new insights into integrative health, biohacking, and Dr. Moore's dedication to personalized care and his innovative approaches, and really to inspire us to think differently about chronic illness, mental health, health care, and where we can really make a huge shift of that needle in healthcare. So remember, knowledge is power. So we keep on bringing you those 1 cent solutions to $64,000 questions. Thank you for tuning in. Stay curious, keep learning, and we'll be back very, very soon.